No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Given the names on the back of the jerseys of the goaltenders, we should have expected a low-scoring game, and that's what we got tonight. 2-1. The Winnipeg Jets defeat the New York Rangers. They get back into winning ways as they begin this 3-game homestand. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. It is a 3-game homestand, isn't it?
2.
I thought they play Sunday at home against Vancouver.
No, Seattle. They're in Seattle on Sunday.
Oh, is the next Sunday they're home to Vancouver? Next Sunday. I got my Sundays.
I mean, guys, we could pretend that it's a 3-game homestand.
Two Sundays from now. Next Sunday they're home to the Buffalo Sabres. It's an afternoon game.
Okay, so I knew that on a Sunday they play at home. It's not this Sunday. It's a couple Sundays from now. But
Details, schmeetails.
Hang on. Did they win? And did they beat the Rangers?
You got that right.
Okay, good. I got the important part right, then the less important stuff wrong. That could be the story of the game for yours truly. Story of this post-game show for yours truly. I gotta say, I like how we had Red Day a couple shows ago where we were all wearing red, and today we're going for blue. So really, we can't be accused of being the least bit political. We're obviously willing to support every political color under the sun, as long as it's either red or blue. That's basically that's it. In any event, gentlemen, good evening. Nice to see you all. Nice to be back together again after Dave's weekend away. It's been a few shows since we were last together. But David, how was your trip? Did you get up to no good in visiting different museums and cultural centers like you usually do when you get away?
I can tell you that my quest to find Luke Schenn on Friday in Vegas was unsuccessful, Ezzy, but I did attempt it briefly while walking through the airport. But after that, I did not look for him, and I did have a good time. So, feeling good, feeling ready to go, and missed doing the show with you boys, especially the NHL trade deadline. A lot of fun. I know that the Jets weren't super active, but you guys had a lot of great shows this weekend, and I appreciate you stepping up, and Connor, of course, stepping up in my stead.
No question about it. Mr. Ginsburg, good to see you again, as always. Nice spending the weekend with you. Nice to spend a Tuesday evening with you again.
Dave mentioned Luke Schenn, and Luke Schenn really, I thought, came as advertised tonight, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Like, played 16 minutes, was just checking his numbers, 5 blocks, 5 hits. He absolutely annihilated Arthur Kaliev in the corner. Kaliev looked like he might have to go right to the bench. He actually stayed out there, so good on him. But, he was really impressive. Blocked a shot late in the game. I forget if it was it was Carson Soucy. You remember Carson Soucy had a shot and Luke Schenn blocked it. So I thought he was really impressive in his first game. And I mean, this is a pretty even game, right, guys? Kind of like uncharacteristic, a lot of like high sticking and goalie interference penalties. But for the most part, I mean, you could see the desperation for the Rangers. They're obviously trying to stay in that playoff race. The Devils helped them out by beating the Blue Jackets tonight. But I thought, this was Shesterkin making a few saves. I thought the Jets could have easily had 3 or 4 goals. Yeah. I was really impressed. I thought this was kind of your prototypical 4 forward line, 3 D pairs, all playing connected, and just a nice team win. It wasn't perfect, and the Rangers were pushing for sure late in the third period, but I thought for the first 2 periods, it was the Jets controlled the pace of play. They had most of the zone time. And it was a well-deserved win, I'd say.
So I agree with you on everything you just said, Ezzy, and it's really weird because I went to Natural Stat Trick at the end of the second period just to see what the numbers were, and the 5-on-5 numbers were in the Rangers' favor in terms of possession, in terms of shot attempts and things of that nature. High danger chances were far more in the Jets' favor at 5-on-5. So it was one of those sort of weird games where if you believe Natural Stat Trick and you believe some of those numbers, numbers. The shot attempts, the Rangers had the lead, but the Jets, in terms of the better chances, were certainly the victor in that column as well as on the scoreboard. A number of big saves by Igor Shesterkin in the course of this game. The Jets had, I think 2 or 3 breakaways that I can think of immediately. Vlad Nemesnikov had one.
Yep.
Adam Lowry had
Yep.
one. Cole Perfetti had sort of a partial one. So Shesterkin obviously came up very big for the New York Rangers. Connor Hellebuck wasn't overwhelmingly tested, but when he needed to be, he was there, of course, for the Winnipeg Jets. And at the end of the game there, you saw the Rangers players, a number of them put up their hands thinking Mika Zibanejad had tied the game, but he shot it wide from a point-blank range at home. I said, well, that's a goal for the Rangers, just the way the puck was bouncing, and he was all alone, left by himself. And he just, with a bouncing puck, he just, basically hooked it. If you want to use a golfing reference now that I think Shooters is open for an outdoor driving range, he just hooked it wide, and the Rangers, at least 2 of the players that were on the ice, had their hands up in celebration for a goal that was not to be, Dave.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of plays where I was like, oh, that looks like it could be in. That looks like it could be in, but there's a reason why he's called the greatest goalie in the NHL and is likely going to win the Vezina and get a lot of heart consideration because he makes plays, he breaks them up, and ones that you think are going to end up in the back of the net, or even sometimes he looks like he thinks is going to end up in the back of the net, are stopped. And so, yeah, like you said from the outset, Drew, wasn't expecting this to be a high scoring game. It's interesting because the Rangers power play, I looked at it with Jets last played the Rangers on the 50 games ago. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And at the time, which was only 16 games into the season, the Rangers had the first best PK and the 6th best power play. Their power play
best different than the word best.
First. Well, yeah, that's a good point. I guess it was a little redundant, but let's
make your life easier. Just say the word best.
Fine. But I like the number. I like the numerical element of it. But regardless of that, this is the first best podcast, if you ask me. But the Rangers had fallen off. Their PK was still very good at third best.
I got you. I've got you. I got you all tied up in knots.
You do. And then they'd fallen off a little bit with the PK down to 24th or power play. Sorry, back down to 24th. So when they scored as on their power play, you're like, oh, well, that's a little unexpected. But you said it, and as he was saying it, this is a desperate team. Ottawa won tonight. Mm-hmm. That was not good for them, and they need points. And one thing I want to say before, I know we're going to hear from the Matt Frost, from Scott Arnael and the Matt Frost, but I liked the class the organization showed to Sam Rosen, Hall of Fame play-by-play voice of the New York Rangers for the last 40 years. We've heard him call, so many great Rangers games and sort of milestones in the Rangers history. And of course, back of 94 when the Rangers won the Stanley Cup. So he's been an integral part of, many a hockey fan's career. And I saw some of the folks were listening to the Rangers broadcast, but Scott Arnael, I don't know if folks saw it. We posted on the Illegal Curve Instagram. He gave him a real nice, started his media availability, giving him a shout out. And they of course gave him a shout out on the, during the game. So it was nice that the organization honored a Hall of Famer and gave him the kudos he was deserved.
Yeah, first best and the analyst Ginsburg. What did you think about Morgan Barron up the middle tonight? Because this is now his 2nd game, if I'm not mistaken, where he's been part of that new looks 4th line for the Winnipeg Jets. I thought that he was very good, and I really do like sort of what he's bringing to the Winnipeg Jets as that more physical 4th line center, as opposed to the speed element that Rasmus Kupari primarily brought in that role.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that goal was disallowed because Morgan Barron did some really good work, not just going to the net, but prior to that, he won a puck battle with Mika Zibanejad, and he was noticeable tonight. He's definitely reminding us that he's a center, and obviously, the Jets have Rasmus Kupari who can fill that 4th line center role nicely. He has for the most part, but I like Morgan Barron's game. He obviously doesn't have a lot of goals and points to show this year. But that's not for lack of trying. And there was a rush he had up the middle of the ice that I can remember. Iafallo hit him with a pass. I think it was, or Tanev hit him with a pass, and he had a decent scoring chance. So I like it. I mean, so there's always, the unfortunate situation that Rasmus Kupari and David Gustafsson are going to be, on the outside looking in. But I really like the makeup of that line. And you're seeing, when they're getting their shifts, and obviously they're not in a game like this, a 2-1 game, what were they, around probably 8 or 9 minutes as a line each. Tanev looking 9:44. Morgan Barron was 9:36. And
Iafallo.
And then Iafallo was at
13:40
because he obviously
that's elevated with the shorthanded time and the power and the power play minutes as well.
Right, exactly. So I really liked how they looked tonight.
Yeah, they were. I thought they were effective. Sounds like Scott Arnael is very close to approaching the dais in the Matt Frost Media Center. So as soon as he does, we'll bring him in here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Of course, it's presented by our friends at Play Now. They're the title sponsor for all of the Illegal Curve programming. But that fourth line, I like what Barron's bringing there, Dave. So piggybacking on what Ezzy was saying there, given the opportunity, he himself spoke sort of about how he considers himself or thinks of himself first and foremost as a center. Obviously, he's willing to play anywhere in the lineup, wherever the Jets need him. But we really haven't seen him up the middle very much at all this year, except for the last couple games. But all of a sudden, it looks like he's almost a more rejuvenated player in that role, more noticeable than some of the games when he's been on the wing. Of course, he had that injury bug for a little while, but I like what he's bringing up that middle, and all of a sudden the Jets are a little more physical on that fourth line with him, and everyone can play a little bit bigger and a little bit taller as a result of his presence down low.
Yeah, and that physicality. I mean, he went to the front of the net. That ends up costing the Jets a goal. Right, that he was, and it was close. I mean, it was kind of hard with the angles they were showing because, and we'll talk about it obviously during the game recap. Mm-hmm. But I, look, we've all said, and I want to give Ezzy credit because I feel like he's been in charge of the Morgan Barron, give him more minutes, give him more opportunity train. Not that any of us are licensed to drive a train, but if they were, then Ezzy would be on that one. And I just think that,
what is that, a class 7 license? What is that?
I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, I just think it's one of those things that you wanted to see. You knew that there was more from him possible, and you were waiting to see it kind of unleashed. And if it ends up being that it's because he's up the middle, then that's going to be good for the Winnipeg Jets because maybe he feels more engaged in the game. But you're right. A lot of these guys, we forget, have played a position for their entire careers. Mm-hmm. And then, they're moved.
It's like you forget, Dave, that Cole Perfetti was a center his whole career, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, but I remember which player I was talking to. And they said, I don't remember. I was talking with one of the players recently and I said something about playing. He's like, well, I played winger in college.
Here's Scott Arnael.
Tight one. What do you think the way you guys played?
No, that was a hard fought game. We know how desperate the Rangers are going to be, and we certainly saw that. And at times got into a little bit of a track meet going both ways, but both specialty teams had to obviously step up. And it was a good game, good goaltending, and we come out on the right side of it.
How would you describe the impact Luke Schenn made?
A big one. I think that ran into some people, a couple of big shot blocks. Keeps the game simple, like we talked about this morning or yesterday. Makes a good first pass. Recognizes what's at him. I thought, I'm sure there was lots of nerves coming in here. And first game against a team like the Rangers, that was a real good first showing.
And what was your reaction to the goalie interference call?
You could see Barron's foot. It was we would have called it. It's probably the best way I can answer that.
In a tight game like that, was that a perfect kind of sequence of where and how Luke Schenn can have a profound impact for you guys?
Yeah, I mean he's plays in those situations. I think that there's a lot of guys that go the long way around to get to the net when he's out there, but the shot blocking, kind of just that presence around the net front. So we're gradually going to start to put him into more and more situations. This is obviously the first one, but saw some real good things on the penalty kill as well. Some good patience. After he got the puck down low, he made some good clears, made some good outlet plays. So good first game.
The Lowry line is kind of known as the identity line. How would you coin or phrase the fourth line of Iafallo, Barron, and Tanev?
Pest line? I don't know. I don't know. They you know what? Again, they got energy. They buzz. They good zone time. I like a lot of what those guys do. They they don't get stuck in their end very often, and they get the job done down the other end.
And then with Tanev in particular as well. It just seems like he's able to bring people into the fight, and he obviously has the speed, but just the energy. How much does that shift momentum for a bench in the course of a game when he makes a positive play?
Yeah, I think that everybody knows him and knows what he does. Certainly he has history here in Winnipeg, but he can get underneath the skin of the opposition. He's quick, though. He's a lot quicker. I knew he was fast, but you can really see his quickness. And, he's a energy bunny there. He just gets going, and you like to see that. It puts a lot of pressure on the opposition.
When Schenn was asked about what it was like to play with the team, he pointed out the structure and the details. How much pride do you take as a coach or your coaching staff in the idea that he walks in and says, well, the game plan's great and all the players are doing everything they're supposed to do?
Well, I think that, that's obviously our base, and that's what the buy-in has been for us the last few years. And he sees the example. He played against us. He was in our division. But I know that for him it makes it easier with that structure, having that kind of defense first mentality. It makes it an easier game for him, and that just being because that's what he does well.
Scott, Cole Perfetti had the big game tonight, 2 primary assists, but that second line, their strong play really dates back 15 or 20 or so games. What's working so well for that line?
Yeah, cohesive. The one thing is they haven't got the numbers that, they've gotten some great looks, some great chances. That's a career high in points for Fetz. That's awesome. I mean, he didn't score, but he made a couple of really nice plays. Again, that line, they looked real dangerous. And I was trying to run him up against Panarin's line. With Trocheck, that's a big task, and because you know what they're going to do going the other way. I thought they won the majority of the ice battle. They spent a lot more time in New York's end than on our end. So that's a good sign when that can happen.
And your penalty kill since January, I believe, is 6th or 7th best in the NHL. The power play has been great all year, but what kind of asset is it to bring the penalty kill in? You got a big one late tonight as well.
Yeah, we looked at it kind of post-Christmas, and then kind of after the break, there's some changes that we want to do. But adding Luke and Brandon kind of help it. They're kind of 2 real good penalty killers, so hopefully it continues to keep doing what it needs to do. Still some areas for us, some of the clears things, not getting the clears when we have that opportunity. That's a big thing if you can get it down there and get a change, get some fresh bodies out there. But you know what, guys are really kind of zoning in, recognizing how important our penalty kill is, just like our power play. And on any given night, one of them may save you or win you a hockey game. And that one you talked about late in the game, that was big.
Didn't see Velarde out the last few minutes. Did he get nicked up at the end? No, he's fine.
No, that was just, I wanted to that was who was coming. I do that with either Al, and I did it once with Tanev going on that. Just kind of get to the 5-minute mark. Just tendency to lean on those guys a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There he goes, Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arnael tonight from the Matt Frost Media Center. Pleased with the performance of his winning Winnipeg Jets squad. The quote that I wrote down was, "Guys go the long way around to the net when Luke Schenn is out there." And I thought that was a very good play on words, a very good quote from the Winnipeg Jets head coach, with one of the multitude of positive traits that Luke Schenn brings to this Winnipeg Jets team. He, of course, was paired tonight with Hayden Fleury, the first time we've ever seen that paired together. Hayden Fleury, noticed him jumped up into the play a couple of times. Look, he's a puck mover. He's a skater. Luke Schenn is more of a physical force on the back end, and you're sort of seeing that as a pattern for the Winnipeg Jets pairings. The puck moving of Neil Pionk, the more defensive awareness of Dylan Samberg, the puck moving of Josh Morrissey, and what the Jets hope to be the more defensive awareness of Dylan DeMello. So we'll see how long of a leash Hayden Fleury and Luke Schenn have together. But I would say the analytics don't look great, but I thought the impact on the ice was relatively decent for both of them tonight.
I would agree with that. And I think, it makes the most sense to have Hayden Fleury going into the playoffs as your third pair left pairing defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Logan Stanley has played the majority of the games. I think it was about a week or 8 days between games. Fleury's last game was against the Islanders, if I'm not mistaken, but I thought they looked very solid. And you're right, Drew. Like, Fleury, I don't think gets enough respect for his skating ability. He's not a stay-at-home defenseman. Luke Schenn is a stay-at-home defenseman. Like, look up stay-at-home defenseman in a dictionary. Luke Schenn's picture will be there. I was really impressed with his game. And look, guys, we've been watching Schenn play for other teams for years now. and he gives you exactly like we said. He comes as advertised. He's going to block shots. He's going to be physical.
Yeah.
He moves the puck well out of his own zone. Like, he's just a reliable veteran defenseman. So like, again, we were talking about Morgan Barron. Morgan Barron has looked great up the middle, boys, on the fourth line. That means a guy like Rasmus Kupari or David Gustafson's not going to get into the lineup. On defense, that means a guy like Colin Miller is not going to get into the lineup. But I said this on Saturday's show, Dave. I mean, just because Luke Schenn was acquired, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play every single game. Like, I can see like a little bit of a rotation both on the right side and the left side. I thought Jacob Stoller had a really good article. We heard him there for Arnael's press conference, talking about with the acquisition of Luke Schenn, it makes Stanley's role a little bit redundant. And I agree, considering that, you've now got that physical guy in Luke Schenn who can block shots on the right side, and that allows you to use Fleury now on the left side to complement Schenn, right? So, it's only one game, but I mean, I think, we're going to get more out of these guys. I mean, could they struggle against, a little bit higher level of competition? For example, you've got Dallas coming up on Friday. But I honestly think that these guys have been around the NHL a long enough time that, I'm perfectly confident. And more importantly, Scott Arnael, Dave, is confident having those guys on the ice against whatever line is out there.
Well, to your point, Desi, it's, you go through this league, and maybe with the exception of Vegas, who has what I would describe as one of the deepest defenses in this league, most third pairings are going to struggle against top competition. I guess it's just a matter of to what degree and how serious are those struggles. And, obviously, come the playoff time, we'll find out if that third pairing for the Winnipeg Jets is able to hold their own. But interesting, Dave, that this is the first game all season long where Logan Stanley has been a healthy scratch for the Winnipeg Jets. That he's been a regular in this lineup when healthy. Now, he's had a couple stints of being out of the lineup due to injury, but this is his first healthy scratch all season long.
Yeah, and that's not he had a rough game, let's put it that way, to be kind, in Carolina, and the Jets, of course, lost that
Colin
one.
Miller, who's also out of the lineup. I mean,
well, that's what I mean. I'm not blaming Logan Stanley alone. I'm saying that the pairing had a rough game, and as a result, they're both. That I think is the key, is that they're both sitting, and that's because you have depth. So further to the point that was just made by Ez, you don't necessarily expect that Luke Schenn is going to play every single game for the remainder of the season. Now, they're going to want to give him some runway because he's going to need to get acclimatized to playing with this group of players. And, the guy has over 1,000 games in the NHL. It's not going to take him a long time. And that was one of the questions that was asked of Hayden Fleury this morning when he spoke after morning skate, was just, how long would something like this take in terms of forming chemistry? And he said, look, I mean, Hayden Fleury, of course, who played in his 300th NHL game today, Dylan Samberg got number 200. So those guys got a little kudos from the crowd and from the Jets. But I just think like Schenn to me he's an interesting player, and he does bring a lot of experience. And he brings, remember, what's the one thing he brings that's most important? He brings Stanley Cup winning experience. Now, you're not going to replace, Josh Morrissey, or not Josh Morrissey, Dylan DeMello, I should say, with Luke Schenn. Although Luke Schenn did take a tour as he with Josh Morrissey at one point in the first. I was like, oh, is he getting a bump up shift already? But the point is that he brings an element that this team doesn't have. And he's not fast. That was one of the, there's no illusion to the idea that he's got any significant speed, but he made some good first passes, I thought, in today's game, and to me, it's just something different. We know what you get in, and again, like this isn't about one player specifically. This is just the idea that you needed organizational depth to handle a loss of a player, and you needed to be able to, just be able to change things up if needed, and not say, okay, well, we're stuck. It has to be this lineup or else. And we saw, look, Neil Pionk was injured briefly.
Like a shot off the foot.
Well, no, but then he was a little hit in the corner, in the boards, right after he and Rempe were up in the. He was defending the net against Rempe, and then he went. I don't remember which Ranger it was, but he went to hit him and kind of caught him at the back of the foot a little bit, and you thought, oh boy, it didn't look significant. But those could be kind of significant if it catches them in the.
I think it might have been Othman, Dave, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It was the Rangers' fourth line out there.
Yeah, and so but the point is that it's a fine line, right? And so Neil Pionk, of course, was fine, and he came out, and so good for the Jets and good for him that he was okay. But my point is that you need to be able to, we talked about it before the trade deadline. You need to know that you can have guys who can be pushed up a little bit if they need to. I mean, again, you're not replacing Josh Morrissey, though that's obvious with any of these guys. I mean, maybe Dylan Sandberg at best, could kind of tread water there but the fact of the matter is that you needed to have that. So I guess that's a long way of saying I liked what I saw from Luke Schenn in his first game in a Winnipeg Jets uniform.
There you go. Let's get into the nitty-gritty details of this game. We go goal by goal. We call it the Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap.
And in a shocking turn of events, it's brought to you by Play Now. Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. The Jets, of course, 2-1 winners over the New York Rangers tonight. They get on the board first at the 5:18 mark of the first period. All-important first goal of the game. Vlad Nemesnikov, his 11th of the season. Assist to Cole Perfetti, assist to Nikolai Ehlers. The second line was absolutely buzzing for the Winnipeg Jets, and that includes Cole Perfetti, who was named the first star of tonight's game and had a whale of a game, taking the pass from Nikolai Ehlers, pulling the defense wide and Igor Shesterkin, and then feeding it in front to Vlad Nemesnikov, where the Jets get a fortuitous bounce, I believe, off of the skate and or stick and or body of Sam Carrick, and giving the Jets a 1-0 lead. Nikolai Ehlers in complete control on this play, and his speed backs the Rangers off of the defensive blue line, and then the Jets go to work at that point in time, Ezzy.
Yeah, and I think Dave has put this out there, but we're soon going to be talking about Nikolai Ehlers' career high in assists, right, Dave? Because he's only 3 away from tying. He's got 36 assists on the season, so he's 4 away from breaking that. So he's obviously going to break that with 16 games remaining. But like you talked about, Drew, I mean, this is a lot to do with Nikolai Ehlers' zone entry. Mm-hmm. And then just look, like Cole Perfetti, this is what he does that's so impressive, right? Because Shesterkin thinks he's going to shoot, right? He fakes the shot, and it's a really good fake. He sells it, and it looked like maybe it was a bit of an overpass from Perfetti, but Nemesnikov, being the type of player that he is, he was strong on the puck, and he beat out the Rangers defenseman. I forget who it was there, or if it was the forward. Regardless, Drew, doesn't matter. But the point is, Nemesnikov beat him out to the front of the net, and it was a really impressive goal.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, the Jets go to the hard areas. And with regard to Cole Perfetti, because I know there's a lot of chatter online about him and his performance in tonight's game, what you're seeing, Dave, is you are seeing a young player taking the next step in their development. And it's really fun to watch. And we've seen it over the years. We saw it with Mark Scheifele. We saw it with Kyle Connor. We saw it with Nikolai Ehlers. And now we're seeing it with Cole Perfetti. The confidence that he's playing with game by game. He knows the game is slowed down significantly, even from 3 months ago, 4 months ago, when the season began. And you just see it as you're getting closer and closer as the season goes on, that he feels that he is now sort of beginning to harness everything and is willing to be a driver and not just a passenger. And that second line for the Winnipeg Jets has always needed that second driver along with Nikolai Ehlers. And for the longest time, they never had it. All due respect to both Nemesnikov and Perfetti before, but now Perfetti is beginning to sort of take on that role, and he's becoming as much of a threat as Ehlers on that second line.
I mean, I've made this point before, but redundancy appears to be my forte. So I'll keep that.
Is this your top best point of all time?
It is not, but I'll try and make it that. But one of the things that we saw with Cole Perfetti when he joined the AHL at the ripe age of 19 in that COVID year, 5-year anniversary, by the way, of that being declared a pandemic. I think our good friend Paul Friesen reminded me today.
5 years ago. That's crazy.
I know.
That is crazy.
It was insane.
I still haven't left the house since then.
Yeah. Drew's been in his basement the entire time. But what we saw from Cole, that it's funny. It's still that season. And I mentioned Paul Friesen because he had a book that was put out talking about reporting on sports when nothing was actually happening anymore. Yeah. And I said, you should have included the year I spent watching AHL hockey games without anybody else around, me and AHL officials, and the players.
I know it's been 5 years, but that was very bizarre. It was like Dave had a key to the rink that year.
He was also the Zamboni driver. He was the janitorial staff.
I loved when I went to Hockey for All Center and Dave was serving me popcorn.
That's right.
I had a lot of roles that year, but I'm just saying it was just a very
no
unusual
lasagna
year.
Though.
No, not lasagna or pierogies. But anyways, the fact is that, that year with Cole Perfetti, he was picking up points in the all Canadian division, as folks will remember. But he was getting them from the outside. He was not going to the hard areas. And then at some point it kind of clicked and you started to see him. And Pascal Vincent, of course, the former Jets assistant coach and who's head coach, now head coach in Laval. He talked about the change you're going to see in Perfetti's game. And eventually he'll get there as he gets more confident in the American Hockey League playing against men. And similarly, in the NHL, it takes a while for these guys, and he's not a big guy, and he had to figure out how to use his size. Thank you, Snacktoba. I did do a great job on the national anthem.
Yes.
I did not
During
butcher
the COVID year is what we're saying, not tonight's game.
No. I was not one of the 4 ladies singing the national anthem on International Women's Day. That's true, Drew. But The fact matters that I'm just saying with Perfetti, and you saw it like
COVID bear when you were singing it.
Yeah, there's Soul Bear and there's COVID Bear. But no, I again, what I'm saying is that it was, to me, what triggered that thought was the play he made where he cut to the middle. I think he took on 3 Rangers heads and he still managed to get a good little chance.
That was a great rush. Yeah.
And that to me was the play that I was expecting from him, was that like, those are the types of plays that show me this guy's got more confidence. And like I said, it's just this weird evolution in his play ever since he became Perfetti, which now is
a couple months
games ago, 20 games ago. It was quite a while ago. You've just seen that game kind of turn, and I'm not anointing him the greatest player of all, but he eclipsed his career high in points tonight. He got to the 40-point mark for the first time in his career. He could finish somewhere in the close to 50-point range. Well, I agree with Phyllis. Make sure you smash that like button. And I want to remind folks, if
Phyllis doesn't like it, Dave, when people don't smash the like button.
Right. You don't want to be on Phyllis's bad side either, folks.
And the one thing I was going to suggest, folks, is that, remember, if you're listening to the show after the fact, if you're listening to the podcast, but you have a YouTube account, there's nothing stopping you from going to YouTube and smashing like. We take likes after the fact. It does not have to be a live like. We will take all likes.
And there's also nothing stopping you from creating multiple Gmail accounts and liking them.
Yes, we want you to each have 10 accounts and like it. No. But anyways,
we're running our own Russian bot farm here. Is what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's what
if we could figure out how. Trust me, folks, if we could figure out how to do that, we would do that, but we can't. So we'll stick to what we're doing, which is the organic way. But just getting back to Cole Perfetti, I just think that you're just seeing that evolution in the player, and that's why the Jets wanted him. That's what the Jets were hoping he'd be. Because remember, what did I talk about months ago? And I'm not unique. You guys have said this as well, but I just remember saying
I think you're pretty unique, Dave.
Thanks, Ez. But you're also very unique. Drew?
Thank God you guys are unique, because I couldn't take more than one of you.
But the one thing I'll say is that he wasn't a driver. He was, I said Nikolai Ehlers is a driver on that line. Cole Perfetti wasn't. But now you're seeing him drive the play more. Mm-hmm. And I just think that that's that chemistry we've been hearing about from Scott Arnael, from that trio. Now, are they going to be enough to get it done in the playoffs? Well, we don't know that yet. But they've sure had a ton, I'm going to use this word again, of runway this season to really develop that chemistry and have that understanding of each other. And again, evolve as a line, isn't evolving as individuals. And the Jets are probably going to be the beneficiaries of that in the playoffs.
Boys, it took them 40 to 50 games to kind of figure it out, right? Like, I mean, I think the last however many games, I mean, Dave kind of points to, the Perfetti when Cole said he wanted to be harder to play against, but let's just call it, the last 20, 25 games, something like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, that line has really come into their own. And I think what they've done is they've figured out how to read off of each other, how to feed off of each other, maybe is a better word. Because all 3 of these guys, I realize the criticism of them has been the lack of size, right? But who cares if they're scoring goals, right? Like, I understand that, when you're going to be going up against some of the upper echelon teams and maybe some bigger players, bigger defensemen, but this is not like their game is not to go in front of the net and hack and whack. Like, That's the Lowry, Appleton, Niederreiter line. Like that's the big boy crash and bang line. This is a line that likes to score off the rush. And when they're not scoring off of the rush, they have the ability to make plays down low. And I agree with Drew. I think, it really is, it's great to see him evolve as a player, because let's be honest, the expectations were very high for Cole Perfetti. I still remember back to that 2020 draft. A lot of people thought he was going to be a top 5 pick, and he fell to the Jets at top 10th overall. And we've talked about it, guys, over the years that, it doesn't really matter where a guy's drafted once he gets into his career. But the point I'm trying to make is, like, this is a very highly skilled player who, when the Jets drafted him, they kind of said, this is a 70 to 80 point guy. I still think he can be that, considering that he's only 23 years old. But, he has really, I think, learned how to use his body more. I think he's been distributing the puck really nice, as we saw on the Nemesnikov goal, and he's just playing with more confidence. And we know when you're playing with confidence, the results are always going to be better.
And certainly you're right about that. And the results were certainly good for the Winnipeg Jets to take a 1-0 lead. Yes, Dave.
No, I was just going to say, the other thing that's worth pointing out is the fact that Vlad Nemesnikov also scored, because one of the things he talked about in this morning's media availability is he said, I like the fact that we're getting the chances. They just need to start going in. And again, it's another sign like, hey, Vlad, you talk to the media, score a goal, some sort of correlation there. But but ultimately he was saying that, look, we're getting all these good looks. We just need to bury it. And was it a beautiful goal by any stretch of the imagination? No, it was not. But at the same time, it's how, the creation of the goal,
yes,
the way
the lead up to the actual puck going in the net is what you're saying.
Right. So that part was great. But the fact of the matter is, as he said in his analysis, it's the fact that Vlad Nemesnikov, even if he doesn't bury it the way you'd expect him to bury it, he still puts himself into position to be in that spot for it to go in the way it does.
Yeah, well, I was looking at it again. Drew mentioned it was Sam Carrick, so I don't know. I'm an idiot for forgetting who it was, because Drew literally said it. But I thought it was maybe Carrick who put it into his own net. It was kind of weird because, looking on the replay, Nemesnikov didn't get all of it. You could see it during the game. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It counts regardless. But, the fact is, it was the work that was done before the goal was happened. It was all the speed, pushing the Rangers defense back, and then Perfetti faking that shot and drawing the Rangers to him. So you love to see it. Like Dave said, like, it's not like they haven't been getting the shot attempts or the scoring chances. They just haven't been burying it at the level that they would like to be.
Look, we should see this Cole Perfetti renaissance coming. He can grow facial hair now, so he's no longer the young Bambi that he once was. He's now growing into a man before our very eyes. The Rangers tie the game up a little more than 5 minutes later at the 11-minute mark of the first period. It's on the power play. Nino Niederreiter is in the box, roughing with the notation that the penalty is because he removed the opponent's helmet. That apparently is a penalty that is listed on the game summary sheet on NHL.com. So that is certainly an interesting one. You don't see roughing removing up opponent's helmet very often, but nonetheless, he's in the box. Mika Zibanejad gets his 15th of the year, assist to JT Miller and Artemi Panarin. And really, it's a fortuitous flub by JT Miller on this one. It's a nice pass across the ice from Panarin to Miller. Miller's going to one-time it, but he heels the puck right off the heel of his stick, but it goes right into the slot where Zibanejad is between the two hash marks, and he fires it past Connor Hellebuyck. So a fortuitous flub, which is also the slogan for Illegal Curve, or a fortuitous flub. The success we've had, and the Rangers get on the board, tying it up at 1 goal apiece, Dave.
Yeah, and a lot of this is just unfortunate because the Jets had control. Dylan DeMello just kind of a little bit quickly gets it over, hoping that Dylan Samberg can get that puck. They're unable to clear the zone, and then the Rangers go to work. And you're right. This is just one of those things where Connor Hellebuck's expecting the one-timer, and then Miller just kind of inadvertently puts it over to Zibanejad, who gets it up and over Connor Hellebuck. So just a little bit of a breakdown that I don't want to borrow a Drewism, it seems, but I will nonetheless. I guess I owe you 5 cents, Drew, here.
Thank you.
But that attention to detail was not on the goal itself, because again, that's a bit of a broken play, but just more the play behind the net where you have control, and then it's just you put it to where you think the guy's going to be, he's not there, and it allows the Rangers to kind of maintain control and keep it in the zone.
There's a lot of similarities, actually, guys, between the first goal for the Rangers and the Jets goal, right? Because Perfetti kind of like he flubbed on it, but then he realized that he made the nice pass to Velarde, right? But Dave's right, and Arnael kind of alluded to that, Dave, right? When I think it was Jacob Stoller asked him about the penalty kill, and he said like, we got to get better at clearing pucks. Coaches hate that. Obviously, Dylan DeMello is one of the more responsible defensemen on the Jets. So you're not going to
Mello who just play. It's the Mello who just plays it off into the corner with nobody around him.
Exactly.
He's hoping to get it to Stamberg.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's a mistake. Mistakes happen, and obviously JT Miller fanning on it. That's like, you're not going to be too critical of anybody. The Jets are in their structure. You're not going to be too critical of Hellebuyck here. Zibanejad's obviously a sniper. He's been a bit of a Jets killer over the years, as you guys know. But fortunately for the Jets, it was the only one that got past Hellebuyck.
Yeah, that it was, and that and that tied the game up at 1 goal apiece, and that's where it ended after 20 minutes. And then the game-winning goal early in the second period, 5 minutes and 6 seconds into the second period. With Matt Rempe in the penalty box for interference on Connor Hellebuyck. So he's in the box. Gabe Velarde gets his 27th of the year, assist to Cole Perfetti and Kyle Connor. And by virtue of it being the last goal of the game, it's obviously our Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Whatever you're drinking, drink it responsibly and choose one of the great Seagram's products. Again, similar to JT Miller with the flub.
Yeah.
A bit of a flub by Cole Perfetti. He's down by the goal line. He's playing catch with Kyle Connor, and he sort of flubs it onto the stick of Gabe Velarde, and Velarde makes no mistake beating Shesterkin with it, the game-winning goal. But it's sort of, anything you can do, I can do better when it comes to flubs, and this one for the Winnipeg Jets ends up being the game-winning goal, and it's against what is a very good New York Rangers penalty kill that the Jets are able to score it on. So, you'll take it. If you give up a flub, you'll take a flub in return. That if it ends up resulting in a game-winning goal.
Yeah, and the Rangers penalty kill, I believe either second or third, one of the two. Third, there you go. On the first Jets power play, JT Miller took that penalty. I thought the Jets' first power play, I was just really impressed by how aggressive the Rangers penalty kill was. And this was late in the power play as well. So the Rangers looked like they were going to kill off another penalty. Like we talked about, no surprise considering they're top 3 in the NHL. But just shows you guys, again, the type of smarts and hands that Cole Perfetti has, because the Jets have the Rangers exactly where they want them, right? We've seen that so many times. I've mentioned it, right? It's like the Kyle Connor triangle. Once Kyle Connor gets that triangle and he's got the puck, everybody knows he can shoot the puck, but then he's got that forward down low, and then you've got the forward in the bumper position, which is obviously, in this particular case, Gabe Velarde. So you've got that triangle going there. And, even though it's a flub, Perfetti, can see that, okay, Velarde, the big man's got some space there in the slot, and he gets it to him. So even though these goals aren't pretty, the details are right. And that's what Drew always talks about, right? The attention to details. And the attention to detail was right on the power play, even though the first one, Dave, I think they only got 1 shot on net. But again, the power play continues to roll. What is that? 4 of the last 5 games, they've got a power play goal now, something like that.
Certainly against the Devils and the Flyers. I don't think they had one. Did they have one against the Hurricanes?
No, none against Carolina.
Yeah. Right, and none against the Islanders. Or no, they had a couple against the Islanders. Yeah. That's you're right. That's when
I think it's 4 of their last 5 games or 3 of their last 4 games.
Well, they had
4 of the last 5 for sure.
They had a stretch after the Islanders game. I think they went 4 for 4.
Yeah,
4 straight power plays, 4 straight goals.
That's right. The last 2 goals against the Flyers, and then the first 2 goals against the Devils were all power play goals.
Yeah, something like that. So their power play was after. Remember, they went 0 for 17. Then suddenly it was like, oh wait, we're still the best power play in the NHL. We figured it out.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that this goal comes on a 4-on-3 power play, because after Rempe gets into the box for that interference penalty, there's offsetting minors on JT Miller.
I don't think JT Miller took enough penalties tonight.
No, he only had 3. JT Miller and Nikolai Ehlers. Miller for interference, Ehlers for slashing.
It was 5-on-4, Drew.
Yes, you're right.
I was going to say, I thought it was.
You're right.
Because those were offsetting, so it stays 5-on-4.
You're right. I read it wrong. You're right. I apologize. Okay. But Perfetti's on the ice because Ehlers isn't. That's what I meant to say in this instance.
That's correct.
Ehlers, Perfetti gets a bump up shift with as our buddy Dan Robertson likes to say a whole bunch on the broadcast. Same with Kevin. So Ehlers or Perfetti gets the opportunity to play with that first power play unit and makes the most of it in what is a very impressive game for him tonight.
Yeah, and it just. This is another, I like that O word, opportunity. And here's an opportunity for Cole Perfetti to show what he can do. And yeah, I mean, look, he flubs it initially, but the point is that he gets his own kind of mistake or miscue back and then puts it right on Gabriel Vilardi's stick. And Gabriel Vilardi makes no mistake. And look, he's got 27 goals, 60 points. He's never had a 60-point season in his career. So that's a big moment for Gabriel Vilardi. And
this was his first in 8 games, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so then it was for both of them, because I know Nemestikov, it was his first in 8th game.
Yeah, but Vilardi had been in a bit of a schneid as well when it came to the goal scoring as well.
There's a bunch of guys, right? And I saw it in the chat earlier. And Niederreiter hasn't scored in like 11 games, and you can see the frustration a little bit with him. Maybe that's why he's ripping helmets off of guys. But the fact is that it's a nice little play in the Jets power play against a very good, like I said earlier in the show, 3rd best penalty kill in the NHL. There, I could use it, Drew. But they were able to get through and prove to be, of course, the game-winning goal. And on it, Cole Perfetti gets to the 40-point mark. So, as I said earlier in the game, he set his new career high for points, and now he hit the 40-point mark, obviously, for the first time.
Absolutely. And to your point, Drew, Vilardi's last goal was against St. Louis, the first game after the Four Nations. So, I mean,
it's been goal late in that. Late in the 3rd period, he had the tying goal on the tip against the Blues on that Saturday night.
And Perfetti, as he just for reference, it was about 6 weeks ago. So you're right; it has been quite a long time since he was. Since I think was that against Colorado where he had the hat trick.
You're asking me too many. That's my brain power is limited, but it sounds right. But that's a long time ago for me to have to think back on at this point in time.
Utah.
2-1 is the score at that point in time. 2-1 is the final. Largely thanks to Igor Shesterkin, because the Jets had certainly opportunities. They did get another goal, Dylan DeMello, but it was called back with Morgan Barron being called for goaltender interference. Not a penalty, but the puck, the play being taken off the board, the goal being taken off the board. I thought it was the right call. It's beginning to be, it's beginning to make sense. Yeah. Goaltender interference.
They finally figured it out.
If you go into the blue paint on your own and you impede the goaltender in any way, shape, or form, the goal isn't going to count. And they're giving the opponent the benefit of the doubt a little bit as well. Was there an opportunity for Barron to get out of the paint? Maybe. Was he prevented from doing so by the Rangers defender? Maybe, but he went there in the first place. So if you go in there in the first place, they're not going to be lenient on you when it comes to reviewing if it's a goal or not. It seems pretty cut and dry. Of course, I say that now until the first time that the standard changes again, probably game 1 of the playoffs. But for the Jets, what would have been an insurance marker is taken off the board.
Yeah, and they were obviously able to pull it out. Despite that, I mean, Mika Zibanejad had a glorious chance with a couple minutes left, and he was looking up to the Canada Life Center rafters, Dave, and it's unfortunate that goal by DeMello didn't count, not only because DeMello is obviously not a guy that scores a lot, but because of the work that Barron did, beating Zibanejad to a puck battle there and then making his way to the net and, causing Shesterkin to have him to worry about at the side of the net. But he just, unfortunately, as we all saw on the replay, he just, his right skate got caught up with Shesterkin's skate. But for a second there, it looked like, he wasn't going to get goaltender interference, but then the other angle obviously showed that it was clearly goalie interference with the skate connecting with Shesterkin's skate or pad. So you're right, Drew. I mean, it was the right call, and, good on the Jets for winning a tight game and, making sure that the Rangers didn't tie this game up, because like we've talked about so many times, this is the point of the year where you need to get clean 2 points.
Yeah.
You need to keep Dallas in the rear view mirror. You got to keep that 8-point difference between Dallas and look, I think Dallas still has a game in hand. No, they have 2 games in hand, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, if the Jets and Stars had the same amount of games played, you'd say, well, 8 points, they're not coming back, but they do have those 2 games in hand. That's why Friday's game,
and 2 more games against the Jets, has he?
Yes. Yeah. So that's why Friday's game, I mean, let's drop the puck now. I can't wait.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's go to break. Sorry,
Drew,
Dave, quickly.
One quick thing. I was going to say, and what would have been insult to injury on Dylan DeMello was not only if he would have had his goal disallowed, but then he gets the high sticking penalty, gives the Rangers the power play opportunity. And had they scored, so not only would they have lost the goal, but he would have been somewhat directly responsible for the goal against. Luckily for him, they don't, and the Jets get their 45th win. And
that's why his boy Luke Schenn was out there, Dave. He said, okay, Dylan, you're in the box now. I'll come out there. I'll block a few shots. I'll cross-check a few guys, lay a big hit in the corner. Luke Schenn's got this.
Well, and I was going to say that the Jets became the top team in the NHL, which they are briefly, but the Capitals, who were down 2-1 to the Ducks, have now taken a lead. So we'll see if Washington can hold on to win. Then the Jets will, of course, slide back down to second. They won't be the first best team in the NHL anymore. Drew.
Not the first best, but you're still the first best, second best analyst on the show is the important part. When we come back, we'll touch on Friday against the Dallas Stars. Remember, we have a special edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show coming your way Friday at 12 noon at City Place. We'll give you an update on our next Boston Pizza show. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere. Lots of Jets talk still to come here. This Tuesday evening, Jets victorious over the New York Rangers. Smash the like button on your way to the commercial breaks. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in 2 unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Tuesday evening, Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg here with you. As a reminder, I mentioned it before we headed to break. Friday, Jets, Stars, a game that big demands an Illegal Curve pregame show. That's going to happen at 12 noon. So join us at 12 noon at City Place up in the food court. You can't miss it. You can't miss us. It's where the giant Illegal Curve poster is. We will be there talking about the latest game of the season, and that is between the Jets and the Dallas Stars. A Jets victory probably puts the division to bed, as they'll have a 10-point lead on the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
A loss.
Dallas isn't coming back from 10 points down.
It would be difficult.
That's the Ginsburg guarantee, folks.
But you know what I mean, Dave? I mean,
Yeah.
that's why it's such a huge game, right? Like, they have an opportunity not only to lock up the Central, but they can lock up, well, I shouldn't say lock up, but it would go a long way.
Mathematically, but it'll
Yeah,
go a
exactly.
long way.
It would go a long way in ensuring that they finish first in the Central and the West.
No, you're I was giving you the gears, Ez, but you're absolutely right. I think that this is a huge game for both teams. You know, you're going to have two goaltenders who, of course, were teammates not that long ago with Four Nations, and now they're going to go up against each other head to head, and both teams are going to be wanting to set a tone. So it'll be a real interesting. Again, I don't think it's going to have ramifications, especially if they don't meet again until the second round potentially of the playoffs, but. It's definitely, and look, we remember what happened with the Winnipeg Jets and the Colorado Avalanche last year and regular season. So the regular season is important. It's going to help you solidify your spot as the top team in the Central and maybe in the entire NHL. And that is key, is just having that, avoiding Colorado and Dallas, because, you know, we were talking about it today earlier in the Matt Frost Media Center, but just to talk about, like, look at the potential first round matchups. To have, you know, I think it was Florida and Tampa, Ezzy, potentially. Toronto and Ottawa, Colorado and Dallas, and Minnesota. Although Minnesota,
I am here for that Toronto-Ottawa series.
But the crazy thing, Ezzy, is if Minnesota would have kept, like, they weren't that far ahead. They were kind of sliding. They beat the Avalanche in a shootout tonight.
Yeah.
But if the Minnesota Wild would have slid down, it could have been Winnipeg, Minnesota in a first round. I'm not saying it's 100%, and most likely, although Vancouver's losing tonight again, so who knows if they'll be there. It could be Utah, which I actually think is an unfavorable matchup for the Jets. I still think they win. I just think Utah's a pretty interesting team.
Yeah, Calgary's still there. Look, we can scoreboard watch for a while still. It's we're at the time of the year now where we can do out of town scoreboards updates here on the post game show and not have everyone roll their eyes, because we are within the last month or so before the playoff stretch drive, before the playoffs begin in earnest. So again, Friday, 12 noon, City Place, the Illegal Curve pregame show, a special edition. So be sure to join us there. You'll also be able to join us, of course, live on our YouTube channel as well. But if you're in the downtown region, or if you're looking to make a trip downtown, City Place, Friday, 12 noon, we look forward to seeing you there. What I'm excited about, both teams are going to be well rested. Dallas hasn't played since Sunday. They won in Vancouver. The Jets obviously will play tonight, so they're going to get a couple days worth of practice, a very quick practice tomorrow by the sounds of things. So both teams should be relatively well rested in what ought to be a barn burner in downtown Winnipeg on Friday night. And I know a lot of people have been asking, hey, when's the next Boston Pizza Night? Because it was supposed to be next Thursday, the 20th. Well, with Hustler doing his event on the 20th, rather than having to divide and conquer, we have moved the next Boston Pizza Night to Thursday, April the 10th. That is when the Jets will be in Dallas to face the Dallas Stars. The second half of the two games between the Jets and the Stars, Thursday, April the 10th. We will be at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, our home away from home, for what very well might be a division coronation, if it's not yet done at that point in time, or if things tighten up. It'll be a hella important game between the Jets and the Stars. So join us then Thursday, April 10th for our next live on location show at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue.
I'm very pumped up to hear about that change of dates, even though you emailed us earlier today about that.
Email about it.
You sent it, but there's two people that are going to be particularly happy about that, Spency and It's Your Boy Bruce, because when there was that conflict, they obviously have to support both Winnipeg Sports Talk and Illegal Curve Hockey, right?
No, we want them to choose, Ezzy.
Yeah.
We want them to choose. There's no Sophie's choice here. You pick. Let's go.
Wow, Dave got a little bit dark there. I got to tell you, folks. I didn't really expect to see to get a Sophie's
Didn't expect me
choice,
to go biblical
reference
on you.
out of
There we
Dave,
go.
On me at that point. But in any event, yes. So you can go support the Winnipeg Sports Talk event on March 20th, and then you can come support us April 10th. Well, first support us this Friday at City Place, and then support us April 10th at Boston Pizza.
We all support each
Taylor
other.
Avenue.
That's what we do.
That's right.
We all
One
came from the humble beginnings of TSN 1290.
We rose from the ashes.
Yeah,
Ezzy.
we all ride or die together.
We escaped the purgatory that was the studio on Pembina Highway, and we're all better off.
Do you think
for
they
it
fixed
today.
that? Remember that hole in the wall, Drew? Do you think they fixed that yet?
Yeah, Ezzy, along with the soundboard that they bought 5 years earlier and just never installed.
Yeah, and that room that just sat vacant for years.
Yeah, I'm sure it's now a museum. It's a museum of ancient radio artifacts. Is
It's
what
a
that
museum of
building is.
stench.
Yeah,
Stench is what I tell you.
Yeah, that's all. That
Yeah.
was all
For anybody who didn't get a chance to come into the TSN 1290 studios, there was definitely an interesting smell that was a combination of a hockey dressing room, pizza, Remus.
Remus. I detect an ode to Remus in the air is what I detect right at this point in time. In any event, the Jets 2-1 victors over the New York Rangers tonight, Friday night, 12 o'clock at City Place, and then the post-game show will be at around 9:45. So you know that's going to be a big one on Friday night. So be sure to lock in and join us there. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and of course, turn your notifications
curse us,
on.
Drew.
No, yes, I didn't say curse. I meant course. Of course, turn your notifications on. That way you'll be alerted each and every time we go live here on the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. That, of course, is Play Now, the title sponsor of our programming. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Tone Bell is at Rumors this weekend. A few tickets left. Get them, rumorscomedyclub.com. Mention Boston Pizza, mention City Place. Of course, our good friends at Holt Dental keep our smiles nice and shiny and keep our teeth from falling out of our mouths. And our friends at Seagram's, they are the sponsor of the shot of the game, and we thank them for that.
Whiskey. Yum, yum, yum.
Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Jets win 2-1. For Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Until Friday at 12 noon and then Friday at 9:45. We wish you good night and good luck. And thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.